Evolution of Human Torch. Human Torch, with the real name Johnny Storm, makes his debut appearance in the animated TV show Fantastic Four, which serves as the first on-screen adaptation of the original comic book series with the same name as one of the main protagonists, voiced by Jack Flanders. Here, closely following his presentation in the comics, he appears as a fully grown-up male with an athletic build, high stature, white skin, blonde hair and blue eyes, usually wearing regular clothes when not on missions, and his blue superhero costume with the symbol 4 when it's necessary to do the superhero work. Personality-wise, he's very brave, smart, and friendly, with a little humorous side to him, especially compared to others, though in this series his individualistic personality traits aren't fleshed out in great detail. While his powers are all connected to fire, which he can generate on his own, that allows him to envelop himself in plasma without harm to himself, and also fly, using his flame to provide thrust from behind himself. Additionally, he can use his fire as a serious weapon by shooting fireballs and creating various fire forms such as rings, which are capable of burning through almost anything like stone walls, solid ground, and even reinforced metal. However, despite these impressive abilities, he also has some weaknesses, which are all the things capable of extinguishing fire like water, sand, vacuum environment, and others. In the story, while the series doesn't elaborate on his deep past, some of his personal details are revealed, such as that he has an elder sister named Susan Storm, who was the one that connected him with her boyfriend Reed Richards, who developed a space shuttle and was planning to go into space but required additional people. Hence, he invited Johnny as a crew member and then also Ben Grimm as a pilot. However, during the flight, a massive storm of cosmic rays hit the shuttle, irradiating all of them and causing their ship to crash to Earth, with them almost dying in the process. But after they got together, they discovered that now they all have their superpowers, with Johnny becoming the Human Torch, and then serving as one of the 4 founding members of the superhero group, the Fantastic Four, deciding to use his powers for the good of the world, protecting the people and battling against various human and even alien villains, while also using his famous catchphrase, "Flame on!" Next, Human Torch appears in the eponymous production Fantastic Four: The Animated Series, which is the 3rd animated adaptation in the franchise, in his original role, voiced by Brian Austin Green in the 1st season and by Quinton Flynn in the 2nd. Here, in terms of his appearance, in the 1st season, not much has been altered. While in his flame state, his body appears visibly human-shaped, with bright red skin and fiery contours, as opposed to being almost completely in fire. Then, in the 2nd season, a new set of changes has been made, now making his and his teammates' costumes have a much darker shade of blue, and also redesigning his flame state to now appear as a more or less shapeless mass of fire. While his personality is now much more pronounced, emphasizing his arrogance and infatuation with the opposite sex to a greater degree, as well as enhancing his rivalry with Ben Grimm, aka The Thing, whom he often intentionally annoys by making silly jokes and snarky remarks about him, causing Ben to want to hit him in retaliation each time. In the series, while he continues his work within the Fantastic Four in protecting the Earth and facing various old and new enemies, his personal life and past get elaborated upon, some of which he even ends up learning himself, as shown in the episode Behold a Distant Star, where, after believing himself to be an orphan with his older sister for his whole life, he discovers from his sister that they actually have a father who's currently alive, but who disappeared because of their mother's unexpected death, and his later involvement in gambling with some criminals. Later in the episode, however, even before Johnny could reunite with his father because of an attack by aliens called Skrulls, who intended to kill the Fantastic Four, their father had managed to learn about their plans and heroically sacrificed himself to protect them from the Skrulls' hidden detonation weapon, bringing Johnny and Susan much grief and devastation, as well as revealing that bravery and selfless heroism are in their blood, which they will exhibit, following their father's example. Then Human Torch reappears in the 1994 first live-action movie adaptation, The Fantastic Four, which was ultimately not released to the public, portrayed by Jay Underwood as an adult and Philip Van Dyke as his younger self. Regarding the role of Johnny, the movie plot follows a similar trajectory to the traditional one, but also introduces some significant changes, such as showing him at the beginning as just a child who lives with his elder sister and their mother, who rents her boarding house to an often visiting, then college student, Reed Richards. During this time, Reed was working alongside his college classmate Victor Von Doom on an experiment connected to a passing comet called Colossus, while also sharing some details with Johnny and Susan from time to time and interacting with his other often visiting college friend Ben Grimm. However, after the experiment went horribly wrong, Victor was presumed dead, with Reed ending up continuing to work alone to find out what went wrong. 10 years later, Johnny and his sister, alongside Ben, get invited by Reed to go to space in order to obtain information about the same comet, which was nearing their planet again, as the only people who know the most about his research. After that, their story of becoming imbued with superpowers repeats, though now Johnny's exploration of his abilities takes much longer than in all previous versions, first beginning with accidents, such as him incinerating a bush just by sneezing, and then, while the four of them work together, they encounter Dr. Doom, the main antagonist, who's later revealed to be Victor himself, after he had also gained powers, but from his experiment with Reed, who tries to capture them in order to steal their powers and become the most powerful person in the world, while also using his laser cannon to destroy New York City. At the end, as Dr. Doom gets defeated, he still manages to activate his laser, prompting the only person capable of stopping it, Johnny, to use his power and save the city, only after which he transforms into the Human Torch and successfully manages to divert the laser, ending with him happily attending Susan's and Reed's wedding. Following, Human Torch appears in the 2005 live-action movie, Fantastic Four, which is the second iteration of live adaptations of the original story in the franchise, portrayed by Chris Evans. Here, he's been changed to now having brown hair, and also exhibiting an expansion of his character in the story, as now, at least initially, he's depicted as very arrogant, impetuous, immature, and quite a womanizer. In addition to his even more elevated levels of carelessness and indifference to people's feelings, which got explained in the story as the consequence of everything always coming easy to him in life. In terms of his powers, in his full fire mode, he also appears as a human with red skin engulfed in fire. But now, for the first time, he's also shown to constantly burn all the regular clothes he's wearing, at least until he masters his powers, with the only exception being the uniform he was wearing during their space shuttle's cosmic ray exposure, while his weaknesses remain the same. In the story, it is revealed that in the past he was an astronaut at NASA, and this was the reason for his invitation to Reed's space trip. But after he got his powers, similarly to the first movie, instead of immediately realizing how to use them, he goes through many attempts of trial and error in the course of the story, starting with many accidents and examples of small fire control, while he and others are trying to understand what had happened to them and also find out their roles in the world, culminating in him achieving the very height of his power at the end, which he demonstrates after Doom, who had been one of the passengers in the shuttle exposed to the rays and given powers, fires a heat-seeking missile at him, with him flying in his flame-on state to divert it, and finally, as a member of the Fantastic Four, joining his partners in defeating Doom, with him creating a massive fiery tornado while flying. Human Torch reprises his role in the animated anime-style television series Fantastic Four: World's Greatest Heroes, which is the fourth TV show adaptation of the original comics, but, unlike its predecessors, features entirely new stories that are only partially based on the classic comics, being voiced by Christopher Jacot. Here, his appearance was again modified to now having spiked-up white hair and blue eyes, as well as a little different color palette for his uniform, while in his full-body flame state he has more yellow and orange overtones rather than bright red, and his body is still quite easily visible. Also, this iteration possesses the same personality traits as in the 2005 movie, displaying a great deal of immaturity, recklessness, and a desire for shameless self-promotion and personal recognition from the public, as well as his usual enjoyment in messing with the Thing, with a special touch from this particular series being his tendency to scream in a high-pitched, stereotypically feminine scream when suddenly frightened. In the story, he and the team continue their journey of adventures and challenges in battling against evil forces and protecting humanity, with several crossovers with other characters, while Johnny himself, ironically, often serves as an additional source of danger to both himself and also others, requiring the team to come and rescue him from his own inexperienced and unwise antics. As exemplified in the episode Trial by Fire, in which, after discovering a strange robot in the city, he decides to destroy it, thus bringing on himself the anger of the Kree, an alien race, who teleport him to their planet inside a stadium-like court to put him on trial for crimes against the Kree Empire. Soon, he gets joined by the others, Reed, Susan, and Ben, as his representatives, though their testimonies only end up supporting conclusions of the court, culminating in a sentence to immediate execution by robotic creatures. But while fighting with the robots, in the heat of battle, one of them almost attacks a Kree child in the audience, whom Johnny manages to save, which leads to a reversal of his sentence and his public exoneration, allowing him and the team to return home safely. With such an incident completely preventable, by him at least learning from his mistakes in the past, one of his permanent defining features in the series is his total inability to do so, thus continuing his problematic behavior in the course of the whole show. Then, Human Torch reappears in the 2007 sequel live-action movie Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, again reprised by Chris Evans. In the story, set 2 years after the previous events, while Johnny and the team continue their work, as well as try to prepare for Reed's and Susan's wedding, sudden climactic changes begin to occur throughout the Earth, which are revealed to be connected to a mysterious humanoid alien on a flying surfboard, the Silver Surfer, who serves for Galactus, a giant cosmic entity that feeds on life-bearing planets and which has chosen the Earth to be the next. Deciding to attempt to stop the Surfer, Johnny transforms into the Human Torch and follows him, but the Surfer ends up overpowering and defeating him, after which he learns that their contact has changed his molecular structure to be in flux, thus allowing him to exchange powers with the team, sparking many future accidents in the course of the story. Meanwhile, the Surfer accidentally revives Victor Von Doom, who then ends up stealing his board and, with the use of his devices, becoming extremely powerful, which also gets revealed to be the beacon that attracts Galactus. Combining the two colossal dangers together, at the end, with the team considering their best options, they decide that the only way to attempt to stop both Doom and Galactus is to allow Johnny to absorb all their powers into himself, making him so powerful that he does succeed in defeating Doom and freeing the board, which then allows the Surfer, who has decided to stop serving Galactus and put an end to his destructive dominance, to regain control of his board and, with the use of its power, heroically destroy both himself and Galactus, resuming normal life on Earth, with Johnny ending up in a relationship with Captain Frankie Ray, who was one of the government agents working with the team from the beginning. Next, Human Torch reappears in the 2015 live-action movie, Fantastic Four, which is a reboot of the Fantastic Four movie series inspired by the original story, portrayed by Michael B. Jordan. Here, he's being portrayed by an African-American actor, with his personality remaining consistent with previous incarnations, often displaying the same recklessness and immaturity, but with the addition of several new aspects, such as that now he's also shown to be very intelligent and a true expert in mechanics and engineering. In the story, his past was changed to now present him as being the biological son of Dr. Franklin Storm, who's a scientist, while Susan Storm is his adopted sister, in whose shadow he was growing up his whole childhood, causing him to act out and rebel against authority simply out of spite and as a way to show his independence and significance, leading to his many problematic consequences. At one point, he starts working for his father and assisting in the construction of a quantum gate, a device meant to teleport people to another dimension, a job stemming from his great engineering skills, during which he, his sister, and also other group members, which include Reed, Ben, and Victor, develop a friendship and then manage to finish the construction project together. However, due to them recklessly deciding to try and teleport themselves, they get exposed to other dimensional energy, lose Victor, and cause an explosion upon returning back, which ends in them getting their powers, with Johnny and others initially exhibiting a period of a stable, illness-like state in which they are all uncontrollably bound by their powers. Until a year later, after he'd managed to master them, the governmental agencies gave him a special suit to control them better and made him their military asset, which he enjoyed, being the only one of the group excited about his abilities. However, after several crucial events, Victor, who had gotten transformed by the energy to the point of unrecognizability and also gained powers, managed to return back to Earth with the desire to destroy everyone and everything but himself, killing many people in the process, including Johnny's father, prompting him and others to unite together and battle against Victor in his dimension, ending in them overpowering and defeating him with his own weapon, culminating in the formation of a superhero team, the Fantastic Four. Human Torch makes a brief appearance in the 2024 live-action movie Deadpool and Wolverine, being portrayed by Chris Evans. Here he appears, now having longer hair and also a beard, as well as wearing clothes very similar to his traditional uniform, but with the addition of regular-looking pants and a belt, while also wearing an old covering at the beginning. In the story, he comes to the scene residing in the Void, another dimension located at the end of time, with no detailed explanation of how he got there or for how long he has been there. But from his own words, he got banished there due to him somehow managing to mess up his timeline in the multiverse, where he encounters Deadpool and Wolverine, as well as Cassandra Nova's, who's the main villain, henchman, with him deciding to fight them with his powers but soon getting extinguished instead and captured alongside Deadpool and Wolverine. On the way to Cassandra's base, Johnny explains to Deadpool and Wolverine who she is and what life is like here in the Void. But upon meeting Cassandra herself, Deadpool tells on Johnny to her, repeating all the insulting language he'd used during their transfer here, which, despite Johnny's attempts to deny everything, causes Cassandra to use her powers and kill him in a gruesome manner. Then, in the post-credit scene, Deadpool decides to put an end to the rumors that he lied about what Johnny had said by showing the audience a secret videotape of what he really did say, revealing some of his very crude words about her. Finally, Human Torch is featured in the 2025 live-action movie adaptation, The Fantastic Four: First Steps, which is the second reboot of the Fantastic Four movie series, now within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, in his original role, portrayed by Joseph Quinn. Here, he appears in his traditional incarnation, but also with some changes, such as a noticeable altering of his uniform, which now has a much brighter blue color with white sections, as well as white gloves, shoes, and a belt. In terms of personality, he retains his humorous side but with less callousness than his 2005 and 2007 versions, while also displaying even more care and seriousness in his attitude and behavior in addition to his quite impressive intellectual abilities. Also in the movie, he doesn't use his famous catchphrase, "flame on," before flying and is shown to have even more fire-connected capabilities when he absorbs large quantities of fire into himself to put out a fire at a power plant. In the story, set in the 1960s of an alternate universe and 4 years after the origin of the Fantastic Four themselves, Johnny plays a crucial role in stopping and defeating an alternate version of Galactus, who's an extremely powerful cosmic being seeking to devour worlds populated with life like the Earth. And in this reality, also desires to take away Reed's and Susan's child, Franklin, due to him possessing immense cosmic power, in order to free himself of his curse. First, by trying to speak to a female version of the Silver Surfer, sent as a messenger to proclaim Earth's destruction, to learn some more details about her, with her initially not cooperating with him and speaking in her alien language. But after he discovers several past recordings of her speeches to other worlds, and also gets a brief translation of a phrase spoken by her, he manages to decipher her language and uncover her true name, Shella Bell, allowing him to use it and appeal to her inner humanity and empathy. At the end, as Reed creates a portal to try and teleport Galactus to the farthest reaches of the universe, with Susan using all her power in an attempt to push him through, Johnny decides to make the ultimate sacrifice and tells the team to tell Franklin that Uncle Johnny loves him, before flying towards Galactus, who is trying to escape the portal and pushing him through it himself. However, Shellabel, touched and impacted by his profound words, suddenly appears and pushes him out of the way, heroically finishing the job of putting an end to Galactus herself, ending in the team's happy reunion and Johnny playfully interacting with his nephew as a loving uncle.